Is Port Royale 4 the reinvention of the Caribbean trading and swashbuckling genre, or is it just a bunch of half-baked minigames smushed together and sent off on the high seas? Watch on and find out. My name is Thoraxe, and this is Strategy for Busy People. If you've got a few minutes, I'll tell you what to play. This week on Strategy for Busy People, we're diving into Port Royale 4 by Gaming Minds. See what I did there? It's a water joke. Ugh. I was getting close to 7 hours into this game. The Port Royale series has been on my wish list for quite a long time. I was a huge fan of the original Pirates games from Microprose and Sid Meier, so anytime I see an opportunity to trade and loot on the high seas, I am going to take advantage of it. You might have seen my review of Skull and Bones, which you should watch if you haven't. If you haven't, it doesn't really matter because Port Royale 4 is not an MMO. There are only barely any RPG elements, and those are in the form of the captains you can hire for your convoys and some limited buffs you can equip. But I might be getting ahead of myself. Fundamentally, Port Royale 4 is about trade in the Caribbean in the period when, well, sailing ships, pirates, and trade in the Caribbean were pretty much all that was going on. The first campaign has you playing as a captain for the Spanish, and you start in the port city of Seville, which you are also the town administrator of. Wait, what? I thought this was a trade game. Yeah, well, you see, it's also a city builder and city management game too, except this part of the game isn't all that great. You have the option to construct buildings, but only after you've built up enough repute in the town that you can purchase a building license. At that point, you can build businesses. Once the city grows enough, you can apply with your nation's viceroy to become the town administrator, which then allows you to manage the construction of city buildings like hospitals, taverns, housing, and more. Cities are built on a hex grid, and building placement is important because certain buildings provide either adjacency bonuses or penalties. Houses don't like to be next to farms, but they don't mind being next to churches or breweries, and so on and so forth. Overall, this city stuff is just so-so, but the reality is that without it, this game would probably be completely boring AF. Why is that? Well, because the trade part of the game can pretty much run itself. You can design trade routes using this nifty editor, and it allows you to specify which commodities should be picked up at each stop or what to sell at each stop. It allows you to prioritize, adjust how much or how little you might sell or buy into or out of a town, and more. It's pretty much brain dead as long as you're buying things in the places that make them and selling them in the places that don't. Once I got a few trade routes up and running and verified they were profitable, I never looked at them again, and it was pretty much numbers go up at that point. As the campaign progresses, your viceroy asks you to take on certain tasks, which give you fame points for completion. Also, delivering key commodities to your nation's capital in the region also helps build your fame points. Fame points are used to unlock concessions from the viceroy, which basically just allows you to either hire more captains or build buildings. It's pretty meh overall. There's a system of treasure maps, but it is pretty random whether or not you encounter people with map pieces. Various towns will give you special task opportunities. These are always either buy or sell grocery runs. Completion of these tasks awards you with special tactics that can be used in turn-based sea battles. All right, sea battles. This should be great. Yeah, well, maybe hold on. Now, if I had $1 for every time I mentioned the Sid Meier quote about just make one game, I'd be able to quit making these videos. But I'd keep making these videos anyway because developers will continue to try to put multiple games into one game. Do you know what a generally real-time sea trading strategy game that already has a city builder minigame in it doesn't need? A turn-based tactical naval battle minigame, especially a somewhat half-assed one. Even getting into one is a challenge. If you click an enemy, you'd expect your ship to follow that enemy and then engage in battle. No, if you're too far away, your ship just stops. What the? So, once you're in battle, you enter this turn-based tactical battle mode. On its own, this mode isn't that bad. It's just the jarring juxtaposition next to the rest of the game that makes it annoying and weird. This part of the game, like the city builder, is hex grid based. Your ship has movement and rotation points. While wind plays a role in how your ships navigate on the open ocean, it has absolutely no bearing on naval combat. You can always use your full movement and rotation. Some of the tactics you collect or the buffs you give a captain give you things you can do during combat. Sometimes you can get ship repair actions or the ability to get extra movement or rotation points. Annoyingly, some things have cooldowns while others have fixed usage limits. Knowing which is visually obvious. However, having to manage one versus the other is a layer of difficulty that isn't really present elsewhere in the game, so it too feels out of place. Your ships have cannons on both sides, and figuring out how to maneuver your ships amongst the enemy ships so that you can fire both sides of your ship's cannons is the most challenging part of the game. I saw no obvious difficulty levels, but even this part felt easy. I should have gotten walloped by this opponent, but I was able to make creative use of the tactics abilities and actual tactics to vanquish my presumably overpowered foe. The game will let you auto-resolve naval battles, but only if it thinks you have a fighting chance. That, too, is annoying. Before I give my final verdict, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Agree with me, disagree with me, or want to see other content? Let me know in the comments below. Want to try this game yourself? Check out my humble affiliate link below. And if you want to support me in making more of these videos, become a patron on Patreon. Your support really makes a difference. The final verdict. The game isn't bad, but it definitely has earned those mixed reviews on Steam. Graphically, it looks a little dated, especially given that it came out in 2020, just 4 years ago. Contrast that to something like No Man's Sky, which is a decade old and absolutely gorgeous. The music is so-so, and the voice acting is alright, but the first campaign was getting boring enough that I bailed before finishing it. There is a kind of free play mode with a bunch of levers that maybe you could use to add some challenge, but I didn't feel like poking at it. Actually, in hindsight, the boring campaign objectives kind of give me Tropico vibes. Here are a bunch of not quite too terribly hard objectives that I bet if you fail, you totally have to start over. What a suckfest. On my trademark 3-point score scale of avoid, meh, and I forgot to eat, despite trading so many yummy-sounding commodities like bananas, vegetables, meat, metals, and luxury goods, this game is totally meh. I'd rather drink a piña colada by the pool and eat some grilled meat on a stick.